RPN, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXKO. 13 sa Zinday Utso sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPN DXKO, ang Radyo Ronda, dili sa Dakbayan sa Cagayan de Oro. Sidyahan na may galaon sa katawhan, andam mo serbisyo sa tanan. Ang RPN DXKO Radyo Ronda, sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
Program, it's official. President Duterte is out of the 2022 senatorial race as his longtime aide, Senator Bongo, formally withdraws his presidential bid. A severe tropical storm is bearing down on the country, prompting the government to suspend the second round of a massive COVID-19 vaccination drive in 11 regions. And the newly crowned Miss Universe buckles down to work as pageant fans shift their focus to the country's bet for Miss World. We begin with a surprising turn of events. President Rodrigo Duterte dropping his 2022 senatorial bid. That's just hours after his staunch ally and initial anointed one, Senator Bongo, formally backed out of the presidential race. Our Melissa Lopez joins us live from the Comelec headquarters in Manila. Tell us more, Melissa.
Pia, after months of political maneuvers, the road to the 2022 elections ended today for President Rodrigo Duterte and his longtime aide, Senator Bongo. The morning started with Go riding a public taxi to the Comelec headquarters in Manila to personally file his statement of withdrawal from the presidential race. That's exactly 2 weeks after his November 30 announcement that he is backing out. President Duterte followed his lead and also trooped to Comelec past 3 in the afternoon to withdraw from the senatorial race, fulfilling his October pronouncement that he will retire from politics. Security was tight, but he did not face the media for an interview. In September, PDP Laban nominated Go as its standard bearer and President Duterte as vice president, but both refused. Go instead filed his COC as vice president the following month. They both changed plans again just days before the substitution deadline, with Go running as president and Duterte as senator under the political party PDDS, only to withdraw a month later.
Wala na po ako sa karerang ito, no? Sa pagtakbo. Naghahanap lang ako ng tamang panahon at pinapaintindi ko po sa aking mga supporters na talagang desidido na po ako. Naahawa po ako kay Pangulong Duterte. Matanda na po siya. Ayoko na po siyang pahirapan at ayaw rin po ng aking pamilya. Sana po'y maintindihan niyo po ako.
The Comelec Law Department officially received Go's withdrawal papers at 10:46 a.m. The process was quite fast, with the receiving desk set up at the lobby of Palacio del Gobernador. His message to dismayed supporters: channel the support instead to whoever President Duterte will be endorsing, something yet to be settled by the ruling party. Meanwhile, Duterte's withdrawal documents were accepted at 3:59 p.m. But both Duterte and Go made up their minds to pull out of the race as early as last week, with Go's notarized papers dated December 8th and Duterte's from last Saturday. With their withdrawal, PDP Laban, once the dominant political party in the 2019 polls, as well as PDDS, are left with no candidates for the top national posts. All PDP Laban has are 7 senatorial bets, which include Salvador Panelo, Robin Padilla, and Ray Langit. PDDS is left with 2, former PACC Chairman Greco Belgica and Lady Ann Sahidula. Back to you.
Mel, what happens now to Comelec's scheduled release of the final official list of candidates for May 2022? Wasn't that supposed to happen tomorrow?
Yes, Pia, Comelec spokesman James Jimenez says the poll body has pushed back the release of that final list of candidates by at least 2 weeks because some of the cases filed against nuisance candidates are yet to be resolved. But of course, they will also have to factor in and process the withdrawal papers filed today by Senator Go and President Duterte. As of the tentative list of candidates last December 9, they are still part of the list of candidates for the elections. But of course, the final list should not factor them in anymore given this withdrawal. Pia?
Melissa Lopez there reporting from COMEX headquarters in Manila. Vice presidential aspirant and Senate President Tito Soto praised the move, saying it was wise of the president of Duterte, Mr. Duterte, and Go to give way to others. But for presidential aspirant and labor leader Calyodi de Guzman, the Duterte family's actions are just moves to retain their power and avoid accountability regarding the president's supposed crimes. Well, President Duterte calling on COMELEC to set the rules to prevent overcrowding during campaign sorties and gatherings and motorcades of 2022 aspirants. Duterte says these gatherings could become super spreader events and worsen the COVID-19 pandemic.
I'd like to call the attention of the COMELEC. You are the ones supervising the elections. As a matter of fact, you are the one running the show. Could you not just issue maintain lang yung social distance? We are not out of the woods. The virus still there. Yung status natin na national emergency nandyan pa.
While the poll body has issued limits for in-person campaigns based on COVID alert levels, they will only take effect on the official start of the national campaign season this February 8. The country logs 235 new COVID-19 cases. This is the lowest single-day tally in 18 months, but the figure excludes data from 12 laboratories. Active cases, meanwhile, dropped to over 10,500. As Carolyn Bonkin tells us, the country's COVID-19 situation is further improving, but health officials caution against what could possibly lead to another increase in cases this holiday season.
Gloria Halisha goes shopping early in the morning to avoid getting COVID-19 infection during the Christmas rush. She remains cautious despite the improving situation.
Hindi pa masyado matao. Dahil ayaw ko kasi maraming tao na masiksikan.
From nearly 5,000 new cases daily in July, the country has only logged 380 cases a day between December 8 and 14, while Metro Manila only had 83 cases. All provinces are at low risk, and so far, daily deaths down to 6. If nothing changes, the number of active cases or those still recovering from infection will be cut by half by the end of the month and down to nearly 1,800 by January 31st. But if people will let their guards down, active cases could rise again. That's why health officials say better find a safer way to celebrate the holidays.
Avoid those direct contact with other people. Celebrate a lot of things virtually. Sa bahay, how many % of us really still wear a mask? Even if we have elderly.
The Omicron variant could also affect future cases. It's already been found in 77 countries, 33 of which have found it spreading in communities. Most have also seen sudden spike in cases. Omicron is estimated to be 4 times more transmissible than the Delta variant, which means anyone carrying Omicron could infect up to 10 people. And despite travel bans, quarantine protocols, and pre-departure testings, health officials do not dismiss the possibility of Omicron entering the country anytime soon, causing another surge in infections, even higher than the ones caused by Alpha, Beta, and Delta.
We want na next time, no, in case magkaroon na naman tayo ng isang peak, posibleng ang tumaas pa rin ang cases, posibleng tumaas pa rin ang deaths, but hopefully, we'll see a smaller proportion of those cases becoming severe, critical, or fatalities.
Aside from COVID testing and finding close contacts, vaccine is seen to help reduce Omicron's impact.
Vaccination pa rin, no? So, nakikita natin, no, sa NCR, especially one region where we had the highest vaccination coverages. Even with increased mobility, the numbers are continuously going down. So we need to attain that very high coverage of vaccination.
The health department is monitoring areas with increasing cases the past week, like Lapu-Lapu and General Santos cities, and even testing old samples to check if Omicron is here. Regardless of the variant, health officials say everyone's action could determine if the gains in fighting COVID-19 will be sustained. Caroline Bongkin, CNN Philippines.
Still ahead, we give you updates on a severe tropical storm expected to enter the country tonight. And the Senate looks into the alleged smuggling of imported goods into local markets. Details after the break.
Event. The 21st annual Santa Sunday event at the Sunday River Resort raised thousands of dollars for local nonprofits. Busting tricks as jolly old St. Nick, the shushing Santas were definitely slaying it in their festive gear, but the real star of the show was the cause, not the claws. Profits benefited the River Maine Fund, which since 2018 has raised money for local education and recreation programs. And from dashing through the snow to cruising down the road, Harley-Davidson riding Kris Kringle headlined a holiday law enforcement fundraising event in Maryland. The Montgomery County Police Department's annual Santa Ride raises funds for the Children's Inn at the National Institute of Health. It's been a department tradition for more than 40 years. Santa and his cadre of cops cruise the county with gifts in tow before stopping at the inn to meet and greet excited guests. Finally, after decades of spreading smiles and Christmas cheer, this Iowa Santa Claus is hanging up his coat and heading for greener pastures. Dave Stouffer of Iowa says he never set out to be Santa, but after playing the role as a favor for a friend, he realized it was a natural fit.
It's the longest job I've ever had. It's the most fun I've ever had.
And now, after 50 years on the jolly job, this Kris Kringle will be settling in for a quieter Christmas. For Take a Look at This, I'm Jeremy Roth.
Hello, dearies.
COVID-19 is still affecting Broadway. The Stephen Sondheim Theater canceled Sunday's scheduled performances of Mrs. Doubtfire due to positive COVID test results within the company. The production says cast, company, and staff are tested daily. The show is expected to resume Tuesday night.
お父さんって素敵じゃないですか、とても。
君はこう考えてる。僕たちは同じ悲しみを共有してる。同じ女を愛したから。
More critics awards for Drive My Car. Japan's official Oscars entry won 4 prizes from the Boston Society of Film Critics: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, and Best Screenplay. It had previously won top honors from the New York Film Critics Circle. Licorice Pizza picked up 2 prizes from the Boston critics: Best Ensemble Cast and Best Actress for Alana Haim.
To new beginnings.
To new beginnings. You look great.
I feel great.
Mr. Big lives, sort of. Chris Notes and Just Like That character died after a Peloton workout in the series premiere. Now the actor stars in a promo for Peloton that's gone viral on social media. That's one way to spin a PR problem. In Hollywood, I'm David Daniel.
Philippines local governments in the Visayas and Mindanao are bracing for severe tropical storm Rai, which is moving closer to the country. The Weather Bureau Pagasa says it was last spotted 1,000 kilometers east of Mindanao. Rai is forecast to enter the country's monitoring area tonight and will be named Odette. The storm will gradually intensify and may strengthen into a typhoon tomorrow before hitting land in Caraga or eastern Visayas on Thursday. Tonight until tomorrow morning, the tail of Rai will bring moderate to at times heavy rains over eastern Visayas, Caraga, and Davao. Signal number 1 may be up in parts of the Visayas and Mindanao tonight, but Pag-asa says up to signal number 3 may be raised in these areas as strong winds and heavy to torrential rains are expected. Authorities in the Visayas have begun preparing for the storm. In Maasin City in southern Leyte, officials called on residents to be on alert as they identify areas where floods and landslides may happen. In Tacloban, preemptive evacuation will be conducted in high-risk areas as well as in Catbalogan, Samar. In Giwan, eastern Samar, forced evacuation begins tomorrow morning for people living in coastal areas. The Social Welfare Office in that region says over 20,000 food packs have been stored in a number of facilities to augment relief operations. These will be released upon request of local governments. The government is postponing the scheduled second round of COVID-19 vaccinations in regions along the path of a severe tropical storm that is about to enter the country. Vaccinations will instead happen next week, December 20 to 22, in Bicol, Mimaropa, Western, Central, and Eastern Visayas, the Zamboanga Peninsula, Northern Mindanao, Davao Region, Socsan-Gen, Caraga, and the Bangsamoro region. But vaccinations will push through as scheduled in Metro Manila, as well as in the regions of Ilocos, Cagayan, the Cordilleras, Central Luzon, and Calabarzon. The government is holding the second massive drive in an attempt to further increase vaccine coverage and administration of booster shots before the Omicron variant hits the country. The Health Department is calling for volunteers for the vaccination teams and data management group to help meet the target of at least 7 million people. Farmers in Benguet province fear losses this holiday season, with agricultural products from abroad allegedly being smuggled into the local market. As Amor Santos tells us, centers suspect a conspiracy between government personnel and smugglers.
Carrots, cabbages, gingers, and strawberries. Farmers insist these were all smuggled, slipping past the Bureau of Customs and into local markets.
BPM mismo ang nagsabi na wala po silang inaprubahan na pumasok na mga carrots o mga cabbages dito. Pero nagkalat po sa palengke nung August po hanggang September, sa carbon market alone, 3 container vans ang pumapasok weekly po.
We admit, sir, that in some instances, ito ay nasisingit, sir, sa mga containers. Napapalamanan ba yung mga containers? Limited lang kasi yung capacity and capability namin for first border inspection.
At the Senate Committee of the Whole's hearing on agricultural smuggling on Tuesday, senators suspected a conspiracy among various government personnel and syndicates. Once proven, Senate President Tito Sotto said they will recommend the filing of administrative and criminal charges against erring public servants. Senator Risa Ontiveros also sought the delisting of 4 companies she said were repeat offenders. They were involved in the biggest seizure of allegedly smuggled agricultural products at the port of Subic in October. According to the Justice Department, it received 75 complaints on agricultural smuggling since 2016, but only 4 have been filed in court. This holiday season, Benguet farmers say the demand for their assorted vegetables could grow up to 3 million kilos per day. But it's under threat now with foreign produce flooding the markets. In the case of Korean strawberries competing with La Trinidad Harvest, the Bureau of Plant Industry maintains these went through a process, but it's unclear why the importation permit allegedly misdeclared the shipment as ornamental plants.
BPI, why are you killing your fellow Filipinos? Kung sino mo lang nahanap buhay yung mga kababayan natin sa La Trinidad, import kayo ng import. Tinataon nyo pang peak season bago kayo nag-i-import para kayo nananadya.
Actually, not the intention to kill the local farmers. So we have to understand, sir, that being part of the trade organization, so we have to balance.
Senate Majority Leader Mig Subiri warned the expected ratification of the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, a huge free trade agreement, would aggravate local farmers' woes. He called for another hearing to get explanations from the Trade and Foreign Affairs Departments. Amor Santos, CNN Philippines.
Malacanang denies the supposed conspiracy, saying the Bureau of Customs and the Agriculture Department are working together to curb smuggling. Well, one of the country's biggest banks is working on reimbursing nearly 700 clients affected by online fraud. BDO Unibank is requesting customers to go to their branch of account and submit documentation to get a refund. BDO says it will shoulder all losses from the cybercrime incident. Last week, several netizens flagged unauthorized online bank transfers to a certain Mark Nagoyo, who uses multiple Union Bank accounts. BDO is coordinating with authorities and the Bangko Sentral to beef up security and prevent another hacking incident. We'll take a quick break, and when we return, Harna Sandhu is giving netizens a peek at her first day as Miss Universe. And we get a look at Tracy Maureen Perez's goddess-inspired national costume for Miss World. Stay tuned to CNN Philippines.
For us to survive, we resort to online selling and plant vegetables. At least it can help us with our daily needs.
Randy and Cheryl Istor work at a BPO company in Cebu. While work from home is an option, the couple says the lockdown took its toll on their well-being.
We felt anxious.
Both mental and physical health. Prior to the pandemic, we had physical activities like we ran together. I played basketball every weekend, so this was gone.
Cebu went through its lowest COVID-19 episode when it suffered the highest number of cases nationwide. The national government had to intervene in the pandemic response as it sent over a number of IATF officials, only to be met with some policy resistance from local officials. Among the sticking points, requiring RT-PCR test for returning Filipinos 10 days upon arrival while staying in a quarantine facility. Governor Gwen Garcia, however, ordered the swab test upon arrival and on the 5th day. Her reason? Give more family time for OFWs. Cebu also shortened the isolation in quarantine facilities and required the use of wearable air purifiers for all PUV drivers and installation of air purifiers in establishments.
But I'm governor and people trust me to find what is best for them. I must decide for those that need to go out every day to earn a living in order that they may buy food for their families.
A combination of aggressive vaccination, law enforcement, and public observance of health protocols drastically reduced the province's active cases from 6,000 in August to fewer than 200. The highly urbanized cities of Cebu, Mandaue, and Lapu-Lapu have fewer than 100 active cases.
And I would say definitely the vaccines played a huge role here. But when it's a policy like Oplan Puyo for Cebu City, it really worked.
Even with the Omicron variant, Loreche is confident the province is ready to handle a possible spike in cases.
At the end of the day, we are not downplaying it. But what we're saying is this: provided all the measures are in place, and we continue on with our vaccination activities.
Cebuanos are also prepared to preserve gains achieved from pandemic response efforts.
Hopeful for a Merry Christmas, and then we get to be more prepared.
I hope that the pandemic will be over. It is really difficult if this situation continues. It is difficult to find money and livelihood.
Dale Israel, CNN Philippines, Cebu.
A bass guitar played by Paul McCartney during his Wings days was just auctioned off for more than $470,000, the most ever paid at auction for a bass guitar. And a Telecaster smashed by Eddie Vedder smashed the auction record for a smashed guitar, selling for more than $266,000. The guitars were part of an auction that raised over $2 million for the charity Music Rising, which aids the Gulf Coast's music community.
If you go with him, no one will ever forgive you.
The critics have spoken, and they're loving West Side Story and Belfast. Both films lead the pack of nominees for next month's Critics' Choice Awards with 11 nominations each. Dune and The Power of the Dog were right behind them with 10 nominations each.
This is the team that's going to take down the most dangerous wizard in over a century.
The first full trailer for Fantastic Beasts: The Secrets of Dumbledore just dropped and is giving fans a peek at the team young Dumbledore has assembled to bring down the evil wizard Grindelwald. The Harry Potter spin-off is set to hit theaters in April. In Hollywood, I'm Douglas Hyde.
Title holder. Her duties began with a TV show appearance in Israel, where she was crowned. India's first Miss Universe had nothing but praises for Harnaz. Sushmita Sen called the victory destined because the 21-year-old nabbed the crown 21 years after the country's last win. Sushmita took the title in 1994 here in Manila. And from Miss Universe to Miss World, Tracy Maureen Perez has unveiled her national costume inspired by the goddess of the moon, Mayari, one of the most beautiful Philippine deities. The maker, Cebuano designer Axel Ke, is also responsible for Beatriz Luigi Gomez's Bakunawa costume in the Miss Universe pageant. Tracy entered the top 10 of the competition's Beauty with a Purpose round today. Find out if the Philippines will take home the Miss World 2021 crown this Friday, airing here on CNN Philippines. We have 11 days before Christmas, and that is it for now. Join me again on News.ph at 7 p.m. I'm Pia Ontiveros for Newsnight, where we go above and beyond the headlines. As we end the show, the Energy Department sharing a few tips and tricks on how we can be more energy efficient. Take a look.
So, mapapansin natin na paggising natin sa umaga, nagigising din or umaakyat din yung paggamit natin ng enerhiya. So, pagdating sa kuryente, umaabot ito ng pag-akyat hanggang 1:00 hanggang 3:00 ng hapon. Yun yung from off-peak na mababa yung paggamit, mapupunta sa peak period. So, ganito yung paggamit ng isang pamilya sa energy. No, habang natutulog sila, meron na silang ginagamit na kuryente tulad ng paggamit ng electric fan or aircon. Minsan nakabukas pa yung TV habang natutulog o may radyo. Paggising nila sa umaga, nandyan na yung pagbangon ng magluluto. So, gagamitin niya na yung LPG para magluto siya. Iinit na naman siya ng mga pagkain. So, nandyan din yung paggamit ng kuryente. Tapos yan, medyo lalamig na yung panahon, sa opisina na tayo or sa eskwelahan, bababa ng bahagya. Pagdating sa bahay, nanonood ng teleserye, nanonood ng TV, so umaakyat ulit. So nandiyan yung dalawang parang peak period na kung titingnan natin yung graph sa paggamit ng kuryente, parang back of the camel.
Ang mga ginagamit namin na appliances ay TV, electric fan, washing machine, microwave. Bale, nung wala pang pandemic, ang electric bill namin ay 1,000 plus, 2,000. Dumating din yung time na sobrang liit lang siya, 700.
Marami talagang naapektuhan sa atin ngayong itong pandemya dumating na COVID-19. Yun nga, so ang setup namin, dahil nandito nga pareho ni Mrs. sa bahay, kailangan namin ng laptop pareho. At the same time, yung anak din namin na nag-homeschool, may sarili rin siyang setup doon ng class niya sa room niya. Siyempre, kailangan namin ng internet, kailangan namin ng connection. Ngayong pandemya, talagang nag-bolster yung expense namin sa electric bill. Nag-doble nga ng mga 4,000, minsan nagpa-5,000 pa kami.
Ang kwento kasi natin ng energy efficiency sa bansa natin, bungad ito ng kakulangan ng kuryente. Hindi dapat ganun ang usapan pagdating sa energy efficiency. Ito ay ang masinop na paggamit na i-enjoy natin ang dapat nating makuhang mga convenience sa pagkakaroon ng enerhiya, pero mas sustainable ito. Mga maliliit na bagay or yung behavioral nga ang target natin, na ang energy efficiency ay pang-araw-araw siyang gawain natin. At yun ang talagang take-away na gusto nating sabihin. Enerhiya ang atin na ito Pagka ginamit natin ng wasto, mas madami nating mapapakinabangan sa mas mahabang panahon.
Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO, processes in the utso sa dial sa inyong radyo. RPM DXKO, ang radyo ronda dini sa nagtalang sa Cagayan de Oro. Sigahan na may ganaon sa katawhan, ang daw serbisyo sa kanan. Ang RPM DXKO radyo ronda sakop sa KBP, kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas.
former lawmaker and human rights activist vows to defend press freedom as he throws his hat into the 2022 race. On Twitter, vice presidential aspirant Walden Bello, the running mate of Labor leader Leoty de Guzman, said they will implement measures to stop attacks against journalists if the tandem succeeds in their election bids. Bello adds they will shut down troll farms and move to restore the franchise of embattled media giant ABS-CBN. The aspirant also remembered the Maguindanao massacre 12 years ago and pledged to seek justice for the victims. 58 people were killed in the incident, including more than 30 media workers. We now have with us for up close Vice Presidential aspirant Walden Bello. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for joining us. Very quickly now, let's go through these promises you made about protecting media workers and journalists. Go ahead, sir.
Let me just say that the role of the media is extremely important. We do have a number of major proposals to protect journalists. I would say that we do need a special prosecutorial team that would be just focused on investigating and making sure that justice is done when it comes to the killings or the hurting or the threatening of journalists. That I think is extremely important. We did say that yes, we are going to push for the restoration of the ABS-CBN franchise, and we will dismiss all charges that have been made up by the Duterte administration against Maria Ressa and Rappler. Pia, the problem really is not just random violations by politicians. It is really the mood of being anti-free press that encourages these kinds of violations below. And Malacanang under President Duterte has been so anti-free press, that it's almost like a license, to people that would like to destroy the freedom of the press because their interests are being affected,
Yes.
by local and national journalists.
Yeah.
So we really need to get this atmosphere of intimidation that
Sir.
is represented by Duterte. That is number one.
Yes,
that has
sir.
to be removed.
Let's be very specific. When you say that, number one, you're going to move to restore ABS-CBN's franchise and dismiss all these cases against Rappler's Maria Ressa, how exactly are you going to do that? Because, of course, franchise is the responsibility, hawak yan ng House of Representatives. So, President Leoty de Guzman would order or coax congressmen to give ABS-CBN its franchise, and then for the cases against Maria Ressa et al., you're going to order the judge to rule to dismiss the cases or to say that Maria Ressa is not guilty. Ganun po ba?
Yeah, on the second, on Maria Ressa, you remember it is the executive that has launched these charges against Maria Ressa, okay?
Wasn't it a private citizen? It was a private citizen who filed the cases.
Yes, but it is backed by the executive, okay? And I think that once you have a different administration, that basically says it is not going to support, the prosecution of these charges against Maria Ressa. I think that will make all the difference. Alam mo naman, Pia, nagbibiro tayo eh. Hindi naman yung private citizen na yun is really the one. He's being pushed by Malacanang. That's it. Wag na tayong magbiroan. That's Duterte's ploy. And if we but to go to the second point, yes, Congress will have to take a role in terms of restoring the franchise. But we all know naman, that the reason that those members of Congress voted, to take away the franchise
Is
against
because the president spoke out against ABS. Yes.
You know,
Okay.
was because of
yes.
Malacanang's pressure.
Well,
So,
of course, yes. Well, sir, yes. Actually, this private citizen you referred to has already said before that he has done this on his own. Anyway, sir, we need to move on to another favorite topic of yours, Bongbong Marcos and the Marcos family. So, first, my question is, President Duterte has gone after Bongbong Marcos, saying he is a weak leader and a spoiled child. Syempre, top of mind for all of us kasi is that he's leading the survey. So that's why else would people be attacking him, right, sir? Kasi, diba, papansinin niyo ba siya kung mababa siya sa surveys?
Well, the problem really is, that the Marcos family has, participated, led this effort to try to paint what were the most nightmarish years in our country as a golden era. No? And I think that's, the guy is not running on any platform. It's just on this image. And what we are going to do in this campaign is to expose the fact that he has feet of clay, he has no record, okay? And that all that is being presented is an image that is wrong, that in fact was not the case. He's running on the Marcos legacy of repression and oppression and exploitation. And I think by the time that this campaign is midway, this guy's going to go down in the polls. I mean, Filipinos will appreciate the truth about this fellow. I mean, this is Marcos running again. Is, as I said, this family raped the country for 14 years. They never made any apologies, and this guy wants to rape the country again. Filipinos are not that foolish.
And this is why you want to campaign against them. Because, as some people have said, a Marcos victory at the polls would be like vindication for them, right? And in a sense, these elections are like a referendum, not just on President Duterte, but on EDSA 86, correct?
Well, I mean, I think that's true. It will be a referendum on, to some extent, on the inadequacies of what happened of the EDSA governments. But I think more important is, that this is really an image of the past, the Marcos era, that is untrue, that is being sold at this point in time. As we said, I and my running mate, Leody de Guzman, are out to, the reason that we're in this process is because we are out to stop the Marcos Duterte axis of evil. And in order to do that, we are presenting a vision for the future that does not bring us back to the dark era of the Marcos period.
Well, sir, yes.
That goes away from the inadequacies of the EDSA period, and of course, away from the bloody reign of Duterte. We are presenting a program, very detailed program for the future, and that's what differentiates us from the other candidates.
Well, part of this effort, like you say, to defeat this axis of evil, as you call it, is to exhume the body of Ferdinand Marcos from the Libingan ng Mabayani, where it is currently buried, and return it to Batac. So are you saying that if you and Leody de Guzman were to win, the two of you would personally go to the Libingan and oversee the exhumation of the remains and its return to Batac, Ilocos Norte?
Yes, and we will charge the Marcos family for the expenses of the exhumation, as well as sending it to Batac. But as I said, if Madame Tussauds Wax Museum is interested in this waxen image of Marcos, then we'll sell it to the Madame Tussauds, and the money goes to the Philippine government. So as far as we're concerned, let's exhume that body, get it out, get it to Batac, or send it to Madame Tussauds in Hong Kong.
Would they be interested?
I would imagine so. Madame Tussaud would, they take all sorts of images, including waxen images.
Just recently, Bongbong Marcos, through his lawyers, submitted drug test results to PIDEA and the NBI and the PNP. You believe them, of course. Do you?
I would never believe anything submitted by a liar like Marcos. I mean,
Even
this
if it
guy
is-
lied about his university degree, right?
Even if it is supposedly a certification from a renowned hospital, St. Luke's, although we did try to get official word from them.
Well, I would not put anything beyond this family. They could buy St. Luke's for all I care. This is not something that you would take firsthand coming, from Marcos. And as I said, if the COMELEC wants to requires us to do drug testing, Calyode and I will do it, but we're not going to do it to participate in this circus that is mainly out to clean Bongbong Marcos. No, this is not. And unfortunately, Isko Moreno and Soto, etc., they're all participating in this circus at this point in time, and it's shameless. It's shameful.
Okay, well,
we should
Leni Robredo
address-
said she would undergo drug testing, basta random. But anyway, sir, we need to take a very quick break. When we return, we'll still have with us Vice Presidential hopeful Welcome back. This is our up-close segment with Vice Presidential aspirant Walden Bello. Sir, I think we've talked enough about Bongbong Marcos in the first segment of the show, but so let's move on. There are a few questions here about the government's pandemic response and how you and Calyode de Guzman, if you were to win, would like to handle differently the pandemic, the crisis.
Well, we have a 13-point program, to contain COVID-19. One of the first elements of this is that we want to be able to have 75% of the population have a second dose by September 2022. That is very close, if not on herd immunity. Okay, and we will also want to make sure that all 50% of seniors have a booster shot by then, and 100% of healthcare workers and 50% of the immunocompromised. Okay. Secondly, we will make sure that we will allocate 250 billion pesos for the budget for FY 2023, which is the fiscal year we will be there, to COVID-19 related medicines and vaccines, as well as treatment. And we will prioritize the purchase of Milsarvir, which is one of the major COVID-19 mitigation medicines. And we will make sure that the first line of defense is preventive measures, and that first line of defense against COVID-19 is in fact in place. So this 13-point program is very much all linked to each other. But PIA, the important thing is that we are able to generate the resources to be able to have an effective program. And we are going to do that by taxing the rich, making sure that there's hemorrhage of payment of foreign debt is stopped, okay? And making sure, that, all of these allocations for things like the NTF ECLAC, which is use LCAC,
Yes. Okay.
is reallocated to the health budget and particularly to COVID-19 containment.
Okay.
So we have the measures and we have the proposals to fund them because it is irresponsible to have measures without also presenting proposals to fund them. And that is what you see in our program.
Yeah, well, I'm sure all these big businessmen heard you when you said you taxed them. But anyway, I wish we
we're
had more
going to
time.
tax
Pero,
them.
yeah.
We're talking about $1 trillion to be gained, from taxing the top 250 billionaires in the country. And we're serious about that.
Thank you so much for being with us. I hope we can have you back here again, Vice Presidential Aspirant Waldo Bello, sir.
RPM, Radio Philippines Network Incorporated, DXPO.